Let's get started by going into your working folder and opening up the following document. 557_3266205.psd. This image is from our friends at photospin.com, but I have doctored the document. I've changed it a little bit, turned it into a PSD, multiple layers. Let me bring layers over here. Give us a little bit more room to play. What I've done, let me turn this one off for a second, is I've taken a document that was one photo of a sky and some ground area, and I have split them into two layers. I put the sky in one and the ground in the other. You say, well, cool, how did you manage that? Well, we are going to talk about selection and this very same selection technique later on, because to me, selection is a total keystone skill in this program. It impacts everything, but I'll show you kind of what I did. Over in channels, there's something called blue copy. Now, what I did was I made that out of a channel and then converted it into an alpha selection and then used that to separate the two layers. We'll do exactly that same thing later. So forget about that. We have two layers in a document, and we want to change one of the layers without changing the other one. That's what we're trying to do here. More control. This is all about control. Double-click on layer 1, call that sky. And I'm going to double-click on layer 2, and I'm going to call that ground. Why? Number one, I guess because I can. But the other reason is I know two layers, no big deal. I know which one is which. But you get 30, 40, 50 layers going. It's not a bad idea to name these things. Let's go to sky, and let's choose our poison. Now let's do something real wonky here. Let's go into our adjustments and choose hue and saturation. That'll get us going. And we decide we want to change the color of that sky. But you know, I think what's going to happen. It's going to change everything. Actually, I kind of like the ground. That doesn't look too bad. Sky looks awful bad. We can change it to anything we want. But the problem is, when you're working with an adjustment layer, it drills down through everything. What we need to do is say, no, just impact sky. It's a very easy thing to do. Select hue and saturation. That's our adjustment layer. Come back over into the properties here and simply click this button right down here. And watch what happens. The ground goes back to what it was. The sky stays the same. Now, if you didn't see that, look over here. See that arrow right there? Now, let me turn that on and off again. Watch that arrow. That means it's linked, if you will, to only that one layer. And if we decide to maybe make it not so wonky, it's only going to change that one single layer. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Now, we could continue this process. For example, maybe we want to do something else. Another adjustment on that same one layer. Just come back over here again and click. We have that selected, which is fine. Say we want to do, how about a vibrance setting? Or adjustment, I should say. Now, this one will drill through everything unless we select it and click the same button. Now, if we go into vibrance, we can impact the vibrance, which is kind of like the middle color tones. That's kind of what vibrance does, where saturation just does everything. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. But let's go ahead and take that back a little bit here. Don't forget, you can double-click on the option itself, like saturation, to reset it. So we just lightened it up a little bit in the mid-tone areas of the color. Now, anytime you want to see the original, what we can do here is just turn these off. There's the original. And we could turn it back on. Now, we could continue the process with ground here if you want to do something on ground by selecting ground first and then going and choosing what we want. Like maybe we do want that as, say, black and white. Trying something different. And we could also tint it if we wanted to right here and just click the tint button. Choose here if you want to change the color of the tint. Now, this one doesn't impact the sky because the sky's above the ground and it only works down. But if you did have other layers under here that were being wrongfully changed, all we'd have to do really is select it and then click that button one more time. Adjustment layers work down, they drill down. If you want even more control over them, you can link them to a specific layer, chain it, and make sure that they stay together, and that way you have even more control.